So, we are still on this series, President and Black Civil Rights, and we are discussing Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR, the 32nd President of the United States of America. He is known for the New Deal and his leadership through World War II. Let's talk about World War II, starting with the Japanese internment. Well, the internments in general, because I found a few things out. Fun fact, not so fun fact. Aware of the possibility of war eventually involving the United States, this is around the time of World War II, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt authorized the director of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, to compile a custodial detention index of those to be arrested in case of national emergency. The Axis powers, allied with Germany, included fascist Italy and the Empire of Japan. Okay? More than a year before the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Department of Justice began to list possible saboteurs and enemy agents among German, Japanese, and Italian Americans. This is important to remember. Let's talk about the Japanese internment, because who can forget? December 7th, 1941, there was a surprise attack on the naval base at Pearl Harbor by the Japanese Navy Air Service. The attack would lead the United States into World War II. The states had previously been neutral, not for lack of FDR trying. He'd been trying to get us involved in the war for quite some time. FDR issued Executive Order 9066 in 1942. This order authorized the forced removal of all persons deemed a threat to national security from the West Coast to relocation centers further inland, resulting in the incarceration of Japanese Americans. As a result, approximately 125,000 men, women, and children of Japanese ancestry were evicted from the west coast of the United States and held in relocation camps and other confinement sites across the country. 2/3 of the 125,000 people displaced were United States citizens. I know. Fourth Amendment rights. Due process. Oh, what's that? Now, something I forgot to mention. 1941. President Roosevelt secretly commissioned a study to assess the possibility that Japanese Americans would pose a threat to U.S. security. 1 month before Pearl Harbor, he gets a report that says there would be no armed uprising of the Japanese. The Munson Report, that was the name of it, said that the Japanese posed no threat to national security and that the local Japanese were loyal to the United States. So FDR gets this report that says the Japanese were very loyal to the United States. Yeah. And in 1942, he gets the report in 41. And in 1942, he gets the same report all over again. And FDR still issues an executive order interning Japanese people. Like he had no proof that they were going to stage an uprising. No proof at all. And he interns them. Their due process? What's that? Fourth Amendment rights? What? Some of them had been in this country for 20 to 40 years. 2/3 of them were American citizens. And when we say camps, they were requisitioned fairgrounds or horse racing tracks. A lot of them were. And the living quarters were converted livestock stalls in many cases. And they were guarded by armed soldiers and fenced in with barbed wire. Camps held up to 18,000 people, and in many cases they were small cities with medical care, food, and education provided by the government. Adults were offered camp jobs with wages of $12 to $19 per month. They were referred to as inmates. Far more Americans of Asian descent were forcibly interned than Americans of European descent, both in total and as a share of their relative population. German and Italian Americans were sent to internment camps during the war, and they were sent under provisions of Presidential Proclamation 2526 and the Alien Enemy Act, part of the Alien and Sedition Act of 1798, which means no executive orders were issued to detain them. So, during FDR's presidency, the Japanese, the Germans, and the Italians were interned. However, the Japanese were interned in greater numbers than the Germans and the Italians. They had a very special presidential executive order created to intern them. FDR wanted to remove them from the mainland completely and have them moved to Hawaii, but that was not feasible. He had been spying on the Japanese since before the attack on Pearl Harbor and was told, dude, you've got nothing to worry about. They are like so loyal, and still had them sent to internment camps. But if my memory serves, by this time the Supreme Court had decided that the Japanese were not white. Unlike the Germans and Italians, they were white. Yeah, but that may have had something to do with it, or maybe not. I'm just throwing that out there, food for thought. Tomorrow, we discuss the New Deal.